Hello and welcome to IB Times TV. I'm Marisa Christian. Today is very exciting because we get to talk about iOS 7 and the new iPhone 5S. We have our normal two-camera setup, but today we've added a third, the iPhone 5S iSight camera. Right now I'm with IB Times tech guru Dave Smith, who waited in line all morning for the 5S we're going to be testing today. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
First, tell me a little bit about the iSight camera for the 5S.
Sure. Well, it's only a little bit improved from the 5, but it makes a big difference in the final photos. The aperture's a little bigger. They have bigger pixels. There's a new dual LED solution that uses white and amber LED to basically pick up more human tones. And the software algorithms in iOS 7 actually have about 1,000 different combinations based on whatever photos you take to make sure that the photos of the people that you're taking pictures of aren't washed out and it actually represents their true skin tone. Excuse me.
So what was the Apple Store like this morning? I read online that they were running out of the new gold iPhone 5S.
Yeah, well, there were barely any gold iPhone 5Ss for anybody to get. The Apple stores were extremely limited, and basically all major carriers had no gold at all. I spoke to a number of representatives and store managers from various stores, including AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint, and all of them said that Apple didn't ship them any gold colors for launch day. So it looks like people that want a gold iPhone, their best chances to either order one online or maybe to go to an Apple store, but they're definitely sold out by now, and the time you're watching this video. Sorry.
Well, iOS 7 is getting so much attention right now, which I feel like is rare for a software upgrade. Why is it such a big deal?
Well, there are a lot of new features in iOS 7, which is obviously great for users. There's a new control center, which makes it really easy to get to one's system preferences, including things like airplane mode and Wi-Fi. But it's also a major redesign. It's the first redesign of the iPhone software since the first iPhone. So everybody's really been interested to see what that exactly entails, and it basically means flatter design, less fussy interface, and just a simpler and more intuitive user experience.
What are some of the features that people are most excited about with the new phone?
Like I just mentioned, the control center is probably the biggest one. When you swipe up from the bottom of the phone, you'll see basically a set of options for you. You'll see your music that you can start playing. You'll see a number of Bluetooth and basically just other options that you can just toggle on and off really easily. Do not disturb mode for one. But there are other features in iOS 7 like multitasking, which are really important for users. In iOS 6 and all iOS versions before that, it wasn't really easy to be able to see what you have open on your phone. With a simple double tap of your home button, you can see everything that's open as well as live versions of those pages. And it's just really easy to see what they're up to and just get rid of them with a simple swipe. So with those and more, iOS 7 is really feature-packed, but it's also beautiful too because it's completely redesigned from the bottom up.
It seems like people have really taken to iOS 7. How did the release of iOS 7 differ from the iOS 6 launch back in September of 2012?
Well, first of all, adoption of iOS 7 is just off the charts. It's outpacing last year's iOS 6. But I think in general, people were excited for last year's iOS 6, but were majorly disappointed with the reality of the update just because of one of two things, which was really Siri, which was not the major update that everybody was hoping for, and Apple Maps, which everybody knows by now was kind of a failure on Apple's part. The CEO wrote a long letter to fans saying, we're sorry. And they felt awful about that, and Maps is still not that much improved, but at the time, it really angered a lot of users that Google Maps was removed in favor of this solution, which was in-house but not very polished. And this year, it's almost quite the opposite. It's almost pure polish, and all the features that they've thought up this time have really no major setbacks. So I think that's the main reason why people are liking iOS 7 so much more than last year's.
What iOS 7 features are specific to the 5S versus, say, the iPhone 5C or the iPad or older generations of the iPhone?
Sure. Well, there's only a handful of iPhone 5S features that are exclusive to iOS 7, or the other way around, whichever. But frankly, the biggest features are ones that users will know, which is the camera. Everybody loves taking pictures on their iPhone. The iPhone 5S has a few camera features, including burst mode, where you can hold the photo button and it just takes as many photos as you like. It just takes about 30 frames per second. And you can just hold that button as long as you'd like. It can take up to 999 photos. And basically, the algorithms within the software can just select the ones that they think that you will want, as in the ones that have the least motion to them, where people's eyes are open, and it intelligently knows which ones you might like and selects them for you, but you can also see all of them. Of course, there's slow-mo video, which is also another camera feature, which records video at 120 frames per second and then plays it down at normal speed to make it look like it's in slow motion. But besides that, the major addition in iOS 7 that's exclusive on the 5S is the fingerprint sensor, which you can, with a simple setup, you just hold your finger for less than seconds on the home button, and it basically unlocks your phone. More than half of all iOS users currently don't use a passcode, but it's really essential that they do. So Apple came up with a way to make it really kind of fun and easy for users to make their phones protected. So that's what's new.
How does an Apple software upgrade differ from an Android software upgrade?
Well, for one, every time there's a software update for Apple, it's really on just one day. Everybody knows about it in advance because Apple always announces it months in advance and says, look forward to the fall. And then when they have the big iPhone event, which almost everybody watches, they announce a specific date. So everybody's looking for that date. And every phone, except for the very, very oldest phones, can update to that software. Android, on the other hand, whenever they announce a new version of Android, they release it at different times for different phones. And that's just the nature of Android, is Google's open source free software can be on as many phones as you'd like, as many phones as you can program it to. But unfortunately, only so many phones can actually receive the new software. So it's not as big of a deal for Android users, simply because only about a third of them can really upgrade to the newest version, whereas everyone else must buy a new phone in order to get the new software.
What do you think is going to sell more, the iPhone 5S or the iPhone 5C?
You know, it's not really a clear-cut answer because the iPhone 5C is $100 cheaper, and as we've seen from recent years, that price cut for a lot of consumers really does make the difference. But when a lot of people like to go and get a new iPhone, they really like to get a new iPhone and make sure it's the latest and greatest. So those who are willing to spend an extra $100 are usually happy to get the newest hardware and the newest software. Everybody, regardless of iPhone 5C or 5S, will be happy with iOS 7 as it runs great on both phones. But plenty of people will be getting in line to get the more expensive phone. So it could be a tight race, it could be a tie. I'm leaning towards the 5S, though, just because of that gold color.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for your overview.
My pleasure.
And now it's time to go ask the IB Times staff how they feel about switching to iOS 7.
I'm really obsessed with the block feature that you could pretty much block every telemarketer, every bill collector you have, every ex-boyfriend, every stalker. It's pretty much saving my life right now.
I absolutely love how the photos are organized.
So here it's all based on location. And then if you go up here and you click years, it actually breaks it down in this really aesthetically pleasing way.
My favorite feature about it is probably the texting. I think it looks cooler. It's very illustration-y.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I downloaded the beta like earlier in the summer. Every day I've had the beta, it's been the best day of my life. There's not been a single bad day with iOS 7, and I just what I'm trying to say is I'm a better man because of it.